Well, enough of geology for a while. Now let's swing back more to the biological side of dinosaur studies, and in particular, evolution, organic evolution. It is the overriding theory in biology that explains just about everything. And so we're going to get just a brief little taste and dip into it here. I talk about it a lot more in my Geology 204 class and certainly in my paleontology class. And then, of course, in the biology department, they hit this quite a lot. So we need to talk. I mentioned first Charles Darwin on the right here, and then Alfred Russel Wallace on the left. Most of us associate evolution with Charles Darwin, but I want to make sure you know that Alfred Russel Wallace came up with the idea, at least the idea of the hypothesis of natural selection, at about the same time as Darwin, and actually a little bit before. And so I always make sure that we attribute this initial idea of evolution to both of these gentlemen. Now, both of these fellows, how they got there in the 1800s, they both traveled widely around the world. They were able to observe a whole bunch of different adaptations of animals and plants that they normally wouldn't just see if they were just, say, traipsing around England where they lived. Think about it. If all you knew were the plants and animals here in southeastern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, what could you say? But if you've then traveled around the world, just traveled around the United States, you went down to the Everglades swamp region of Florida, you went to the Coean desert areas of West Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, you went to the high mountains of Colorado, you observe more examples of plants and animals in life. And so in particular, Darwin made a big notice or mention of the fact that when he went to the Galapagos Islands, he saw finches, straight finch like the ones that you see eating bird seed out of your feeders in your yard. But on these islands, these birds, these finches had adapted to the point where they had some that were eating seeds, some that were eating fruits, some that were eating insects, some that lived on the ground, some that lived in trees, some that ate carrion. And there was this evolution, or this something had happened to make these different beak types for different food types, for different environment types. One of the other things that they're also observed, that they were keen observers of, was artificial selection, basically ranching, farming, breeding, etc. And here's the situation where a breeder chooses which individuals will mate. So dairy farmers, they choose this cow, this cow, this cow are going to breed with my neighbor's bull in order to produce a new generation of cows with hopefully higher milk production. We do this for plants, animals, etc. And I always give the example here of Brassica oleracea. It's one species, but you know it as all these different things, all your favorites from your childhood. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kale, etc., etc. They look like all vastly different things, but we got there by taking one plant and selecting which pollen from which plant would fertilize the flower of another plant. So we could select for big white flowers, no flowers, just leaves, toughened leaves, etc., etc. So this can take us very far. Going back here to this, another prime example of artificial selection is in dog breeds. Think of all the different breeds of dogs, from Chihuahuas and Poodles to my favorites, Huskies and Malamutes and Shepherds and things like that. They are all just one dog species, but breeders have chosen which males will mate with which females, and they've selected for color, for size, for shape, for all kinds of features. So again, what Darwin Wallace did, they observed plants and animals around the globe. They knew that artificial selection, a breeder, can make tremendous changes. And so they reasoned that with the millions of years of geologic time, there could be something that they could call, or that Darwin called, natural selection. And there's all the various aspects of it. I won't go over them all right here, but suffice it to say, this is the starting point of evolutionary studies, and it's what we still sort of cling to. We still sort of attribute most of evolutionary change, evolutionary diversification, to this basic idea of natural selection. And if it works well with modern fauna and flora, plants and animals, then it had to have existed and worked for dinosaurs as well.